Intro.
What is up, you guys? I am Alan Hamilton, and today I kind of want to show you how I go about clearing out and repopulating zones. If you've watched any of my older EverQuest emulated videos, you'll know that on my server I want to keep everything up through Velius, and also anything that's on the classic map, which I showed in a previous video, and I guess I can show again now, and that'll be in post-production. Anyways, so what I like to start off by doing is I like to go to the zone, and I apologize in advance for I'm not sure why, but when I have it on my main screen, the program that I use to pick it up behaves kind of strangely. So I'm going to be looking over here a lot, like most of the video. So what I like to do is just kind of run around the zone, get a good deal of the layout, look at the map. And right now we're in the Hills of Shade. So there's like a fishing village and a graveyard. And now let's think of what we want for the zone. So in live, I know that lore is something like there was an elf and a human that fell in love, and their families didn't like it, so somebody died, and then Arola Mar, the goddess of love, got pissed off, like royally, and it's like, okay, fuck you guys, I am going to curse you guys and where you live. So I don't like that. I don't like that story. It's not satisfying to me. It's not as interesting to me as what I came up with. What I want for this zone is when they first came to Fador, a group of elves came and settled here, and Inaruk, the god of hate, who hates the elves. So what I want for the zone is Inaruk saw that the elves were weakened and decided he would attack starting in the Hills of Shade. This zone is going to be full of undead elves, which I'm borrowing from the Lost Dungeons of Norath expansion. If you've ever played that one with the Sand Elves from Takish His. And the humans probably won't be here. I don't think that there's a place for them here, but Dark Elves. There will be Dark Elves, and this will be a Dark Elf friendly area, so I'm going to create a new faction that will allow Dark Elves, Ogres, Trolls, evil people to come here and actually participate. I'm planning maybe to be level 30, mid-30s through high 40s, so that way it'll be like an easy transition into the Plane of Hate, and this will open up into the Lesser Fate arc. So now that I kind of have my idea of what I want for this zone, I'm going to go ahead and clear it out. So if you watched my video, I'm just going to park myself here. If you watched my video on my top 3 most used programs, you will know that they are the EOC, Navicat Lite, the free version, and of course the EverQuest client. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Navicat. Let's see, how am I going to do this? This is Navicat. So the table we want to go into is the Spawn 2. This is where it specifies, every individual spawn is specified here unless it's caused by a script, which is another video of its own. So let's go to zone, and let's sort by ascending, and then we'll go ahead and find the Hills of Shade. Alright, so here is the beginning of the Hills of Shade. Now, what I like to do is, because you would think logically you're clearing out the zone, so you're going to delete all of the spawns in the Spawn 2 table, right? Wrong. So there's a lot of good stuff in the original zones. You have grids, and that's when they wander around. You have grids. Just any ideas that you can take if you don't know what you want to put in some a particular area. It's nice to be able to go back and reference the zone, so that's why I don't delete it. I actually move it into a different version. So what I like to do is I like to move everything to version 1, because when you zone in, you're going to be in version 0. So we can create an alternative version of the zone, version 1, and be able to go to version 1 and reference it later. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to make all of the spawns in Hills of Shade currently version 1, and then anything we add will be added to version 0 because that's the version we're going to be in. Now I have a gaming mouse, and this gaming mouse allows me to create custom macros and attach them to buttons on the mouse. And so I created a paste down button for this precise reason. So then that way all I got to do is press a button and then it pastes whatever I have on the clipboard and moves down to the next line. Okay, I think that is everything. So let's go back into the game and just make sure that we did this correctly. So here we are back in the Hills of Shade. As you can see, there's still shit wandering around, and a lot of it, which is pretty damn cool because we can come and reference this later. A Death Wrangler. So let's repop. Huh, nothing is spawning. And that is because we're in version 0 and not version 1. So the entire zone should be cleared out. Now I did notice when I was switching everything over to version 1 that there were lots of spawns that were already in version 1, so when we do go to reference it, we might find a few surprises. I don't think it's going to matter all that much because the player is not going to be seeing version 1 unless you want them to. It's your server. You do whatever you want. So now that it's clear, we have to kind of decide what we want to spawn there, and I've already gone ahead and created a few just zone trash NPCs that, you know, I figure would be nice here. So I don't know, I guess we'll make the first one 305000, and then of course it's asking for the spawn group ID, which we will be visiting. Okay, so if you look at this table, you're going to see some of the other NPCs that I have created. Here's that Oracle of Marud, the Guardian of Marud. I created new Oracle of Karnon and Guardian of Karnon just because I kind of wanted to keep them like similar in level, but I kind of wanted to level them up a bit just to make it a little more difficult to get those items. But for the time being, I've created a Shade Wolf, a Giant Widow, and an Elven Skeleton. Now, the sizes are going to be weird when they do spawn, and that is totally okay because we're actually going to fix it in-game. Just kind of like how I showed you in my other video. So, I want to create a spawn group that will randomly spawn one of these three. We'll do Hills of Shade. Yeah. Trash. Alright, perfect. So that is the spawn group. And I know you're like, well, what is a spawn group? Well, keep watching and we'll figure it out together. Okay, so we're going to copy this group ID, and now let's go to spawn entries. So that is going to be each individual entry for each spawn group. So that is the ID. And then we're going to take this, the ID of the first mob that we want to spawn in that spawn group. We're going to put it there. So spawn group ID is the spawn group we created for the trash. And then this is the ID for the NPCs that I want in this spawn group. Okay, now I have all three of those NPCs in this spawn group. So they all have a 0% chance of spawning. So like, let's say you want to put a really, really rare spawn. So we could do like 1% of the skeleton, 1% chance, and then we'll do like 49 and 50. So then that way there is a 50% chance that when this spawn group spawns, that the Shade Wolf will spawn, 49% chance that the Widow will spawn, and a 1% chance that the skeleton will spawn. I don't want it like that, so we're going to split it 33, 33, 34, there we go. We've created our spawn group. Now we have to actually spawn it in the zone. So we're going to take that spawn group ID, and this is where we're going to use it. Perfect. Now let's respawn time. I usually like to go with what they're talking about. You know, it's about 640 seconds with maybe a 64 second variable. And so then that means that after 640 seconds, it can spawn anywhere between 64 seconds after that. I hope that makes sense, because it's really confusing. Once you get into it, all of this is going to start making sense. Unless you're somebody who learns, just by hearing about it. I'm somebody who has to I dive in, I do it, and then I get really good at it really fast in most cases. So that's kind of the kind of mindset that I'm in. And then I'll show you about pathing grids in a second. Spawn conditions. Wow, I don't even understand those yet. They're kind of complicated. I think that this system was created more out of necessity, just because of what the engine would allow, and not what would be easiest to use. And that's okay, because I still love it. And then animation, that's like if you want them sitting, if you want them feigning death, or laying down. And then of course enabled is, do you want the spawn enabled? And then over here is the locations. You can enter that in now, and sometimes I do that, but I'd prefer to go into the game. Oops. Repop. See, I don't know why. I took a typing class in high school, but I've been on the computer since I was really little, so I hunt and peck instead of I mistype things a lot. So, and I don't feel like unlearning it to relearn the so that's me. Okay, so I've got it targeted. Because I'm a GM, I can target anything in the zone with the /target command. And let's do spawn fix. Excuse me. Okay, and now we have a shade wolf. Now it will spawn randomly, so like I said, repop, widow, and I'm going to be changing the textures right here with you. It's going to spawn randomly. There's going to be a skeleton in there somewhere, so let's figure out what texture ID we want. Texture 1. Okay, NPC edit texture 1, and I'm happy with the size, so let's texture 1. Excellent. So we will permanently change the texture to 1, and let's see, what size do we want? Size 5, size 10. That's nice, but just because kind of like the area it's in, and because it is mixed in with some smaller mobs, I'll do maybe about a 7. That seems good. Actually, that's probably the same as size. So we're just going to leave it size 0, because that's the default size. Perfect. Skeleton, right on. So let's see. I want him to be about my height. Size 5. That's good enough. Okay, excellent. So that is going to be his size from now on. Beautiful. Okay, so remember how I told you I want to be able to go back and reference the original version, the version that came right out of the box? What we're going to do is we're actually going to create a separate instance for that. So let's go to the main table, and we're going to zone. Oh, instance list. So let's create a new one. Let's do, I don't know, 11. And now each zone has a unique numerical ID. I know it's so confusing because they have like, the short name and then the ID name, or the ID number rather. And you can actually go to the character, if you're in the zone, you can go to the character data table, look at the character that you're on right then, and it'll actually give you the ID. Or alternatively, you could go into the zone list, and it's going to have the unique ID there too. But it said 444. Let's select version 1 because we put everything in version 1. Let's make this global, and I want it to never expire. Perfect. So the ID is 11. So we're good with this one mob that we spawned. So let's go to zone instance 11. And we're entering the Hills of Shade. Alright, here we are in the Hills of Shade. And we're seeing everything that we moved to version 1 here. Oh, I need to be looking over here. Oh. So we're going to be seeing these dudes and these dudes. So you see how they're kind of wandering around? I want my mob to wander around like that too. So let's figure out, each grid has an ID and it has different locations. So in that grid, the NPC, depending on the type of grid it is, will go to different locations. You can set up these personally if you want. It's a video of its own. I am going to take this pathing, and I'm going to use it in my version just because it's easier. You don't want to clog up the tables too much. Well, I don't know. It's up to you, really. So let's NPC stats, and it's going to tell us everything we need to know about this scarecrow, including the spawn group and the grid ID. So let's go over, what is it? 544870. Let me just make sure that's correct because I am notorious for fucking this shit up. Okay, perfect. So let's go back in here. Let's make sure it's saved. Let's go back in here and see. It updated when I did the spawn fix. It automatically updates it to the database. That is why I do what I do. There is a method to my madness. And if, like I said, if you know an alternative way of doing this, maybe a way that's easier or a way that you prefer, if it's not easier, you know, sometimes I like complicated shit. Share it. We want to know. This is a community. We want to share our creative ideas. Okay, so let's zone 444. You can use either the short name or the zone ID. Okay, now we're back in version 0 of the Hills of Shade, and let's go check on our wolf. Ah, here he is, except he's a skeleton. And he's wandering on the grid that we specified. That is why I do not like to delete the spawns. I like putting them in their own version. It makes it so easy to go back and reference it. You don't have to create new grids. There's a lot that you can actually take from the original version or the out-of-the-box version of the zone. So now that we know how to do that, why don't we start from scratch on a new NPC, because I know I neglected to show you how to do that. And I'm sure that there is... I know that Acadius has a system that automatically scales NPCs for you. However, if you do, let's go to this NPC types. If you do create a new one, that's 1001503. Then all of this is blank. Delete the record. And this is where the third program that I talked about comes into play. So to get to the window I'm looking at right now, Tools, Project EQ, and it's going to bring you here. So let's go to the NPCs table. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find an NPC that is about as strong as I want my NPC to be. And so I'm going to choose a zone around the level that I want this NPC to be at. So let's choose, I think it's Soul Dungeon B. Nagathan's Lair. Oh, alright, here we go. So I'm going to find something that's around level maybe 40. Here we go. Level 40. New ID. And then we're going to copy it. Copy NPC. And then we're going to have 2 Death Beetles. Well, one is going to have this ID. Perfect. So if we go into the database and we refresh it, we're going to find a copy of the Death Beetle. This is how I do it. There are several different ways. There's probably an easier way. Like I said, I like complicated shit. I don't know why, I just complicate every goddamn thing. But it's already scaled for us. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly customize this in this window to what I want it to be. So we'll do a spooky scarecrow. Open up that race viewer. Okay, the scarecrow ID is 82. I want it to be, we'll keep it a warrior for now, and then we're going to change it to undead so it can be the target of undead spells. And I probably should do that with the skeleton too. I think everything else for right now is good. I like it. And it's trackable, and let's submit changes. So what it's going to do is it's going to access your database, and it's going to update it in your database. And there we have a spooky scarecrow. So if we refresh it, a spooky scarecrow. So let's do what we did last time. We'll create a new spawn group, 137001 Hills of Shade Scarecrow. Now that we know what we're doing, we can do it a lot faster. 137001 100%. Great. Beautiful. And now I like to scroll down and back up because then that'll update it just in Navicat. That's just the way it works. So let's create a new one. 30500. Actually, let's do 50. Just because I'm going to be spawning more trash, so I want some IDs available. This is just me. You can put it in whatever order you want. You can make it totally nonsensical if you want. I am really kind of anal about this shit. Like, it has to be, excuse me, it has to be in sequence. Alright, so there we go. It's all set up. It doesn't have a location. That's fine. Let's repop. A spooky scarecrow. Spawn fix. Repop. And we've got a very tiny spooky scarecrow. Really? Wow, that is tiny. So let's size him. Now, I want him to be standing still, and that means that he's going to have to be feigning death, kind of like he's lying down, so... Or sitting, maybe that's what it is, sitting. So let's repop. Alright, perfect. So here he is. He's going to be standing like this, like he's a regular scarecrow. And let's put him up here. That's beautiful. That is exactly what I wanted. So you can do that with all of the NPCs. The zones that I showed you that were already populated, that's how I did it. Exactly what you saw there. I just did it several times, created different NPCs. Merchants, you can create anything your little heart desires, anything you've seen in the game. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, share if you know anybody who loves EverQuest and is thinking of creating their own server. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.